Okay, so this week we are discussing Batman 1989. It didn't have 1989 in the title, but we need to differentiate it because there are so many Batman movies. This one is quite a departure from the more recent entries that I think a lot of people have come to love. Directed by Tim Burton and starring Michael Keaton as Batman, this is a goofier Gotham and a less serious overall tone of movie. But it does introduce a lot of really cool set design and set pieces, I think. And it gives us an iconic Joker, played by, fucking A, why can't I think of his name? Played by Jack Nicholson. And we're going to talk about it today. So if you want to get nuts, come on, let's get nuts.
There is a lot to say about this movie. A film that not only is very different from the recent Batman films, but was very different from any sort of Batman media at the time as well. Mm-hmm. A very interesting tone and very iconic elements of this film. I'm excited to discuss.
That's what I said.
I'm reiterating what you said. I'm taking what you said and I'm rewording it so it sounds original.
Yeah.
But I do have one question that is totally my idea and originality.
Okay.
And that question is, but is Batman good?
We're going to figure that out over the course of about 60 minutes. We usually go a little long, but probably about an hour. We'll figure that out. But is it good podcast? Yeah. Welcome to the But Is It Good podcast. Hunter's getting a good stretch in. You got to stretch before you... I was trying to think of something that rhymed, like stretch before you fetch, but that wouldn't make any sense.
Hey, look, if you like to fetch, you probably should stretch.
That's true. That's a good point.
Did you say who you were?
I am your host, Zach Olson.
And I am your host, Hunter Callahan.
In this week, we're talking about Batman.
Bat Zach.
Yeah.
I just noticed that. Yeah. Na.
Batman.
Although that's a different Batman. That's the Adam West Batman.
Right.
I apologize in advance for my voice.
You sound the same.
Do I really?
You sound normal. Yeah. On the mic, you sound normal.
Okay, good.
In person, you sound like you've lost your voice because you have croup.
Fucking hell. Sorry. Excuse my language, dude. It's been a day. Yeah, it's better than it was this morning. I've been awake since like 2 o'clock. No, since like 1 o'clock. So everyone just bear with me.
Oh, so when you got back, you didn't go to sleep?
For 30 minutes.
Okay.
Because we got back at 7 and Hollis was awake at 7:30.
Oof. We
went to the hospital. It's been a shit show. Hollis has croup. There's no test for it, but I likely have croup, which is annoying because it's very contagious. So I have to just kind of do nothing, even though for adults it's just kind of an annoyance. But for little kids, it's very serious.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah, I thought it was at the Braves game because we were at this amazing Braves game, and I lost my voice at the Braves game, and it never came back.
So for the audience to read between the lines here, we went to the Braves game. It was a boys' night. There were 4 of us, and Hunter was there with croup. So there's no telling.
I didn't know I had croup.
There's no telling how many people around us, me, Chase, Brooks, friend of the podcast, guest, we could all have it, you know?
Actually, I read that most adults, it doesn't even affect them. But I also tested positive for strep.
Oh, fuck.
So I have both. It's just been a weekend, man. Anyway,
cool.
I'm still excited to talk about Batman because I love Batman. Did you know that Batman is my favorite character in any media?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I love Batman.
I'm surprised you're not wearing your Batman tank top.
Do I have a Batman tank top? I don't think I do. a Batman
I thought
t-shirt.
you used to have a Batman tank top. It was just
Probably.
black with the it was like the Michael Keaton bat.
It was the yellow bat.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have a shirt like that, but it would be like
Tight.
you can't see what I'm doing, but I'm like
Yeah, it's like tight.
There's a famous picture of me and Trey on the internet on Facebook from a very infamous house party that we threw 10 years ago, and I'm wearing that shirt.
Iconic.
So I don't think it would be the same size as it is now, as it was then.
The shirt would be the same size unless you shrunk it.
I wash and dry everything.
You might
So
not be
I'm
the same size. Although in between then and now, you lost a bunch of weight and then gained some back. Are you sure you're not the same size that you were?
That's true. I'm actually probably lighter.
Okay,
by like a little bit, not a lot though.
Then it probably fits just fine.
I'll have to go find it, and I'll post
You
a
probably
picture
just
of
have,
myself
like, big
on
old
Instagram.
Chest popping out.
I'll post it on our story on Instagram. No context, just me in a Batman t-shirt.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm excited. Zach, you can take it away because actually, well, first like and subscribe, please. All that shit, whatever. Whatever. I'm hanging on by a thread.
Yeah. So we're talking about Batman this week, and we like to start these episodes off by giving some spoiler-free first reactions to the film when we watched it. So Hunter, I would like you to go first. I know you've seen this movie plenty of times, but you can talk about the first time you watched it and what that was like, or you can talk about this most recent watch. You can talk about both if you want to. The floor is yours.
Wow, that's a lot of options. I remember when I first saw this, I was young enough in the same sense of like when I saw like the Batman and Robin and Batman Forever movies that I was like, this is amazing no matter what. Just how movies, how blissfully ignorant you are when you're a kid. You're like, movies are amazing. They're just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And I always still liked it. I still remembered stuff as the Joker, and this is the Batman that I kind of grew up on in the sense that, let me explain this, I guess, correctly. The Batman that I guess we grew up on in the theaters was probably Christian Bale. That's 2008. 2005 right. Was Batman Begins. We would have been, what, like 12?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was alluding to in the intro, right? Is that, like, I feel like a lot of people in our age group, their Batman is going to be Christian Bale.
Yeah.
Maybe George Clooney, but hopefully not.
No, that's nobody's Batman. But what I mean is that this movie redefined, and this is kind of not about me watching it, but it redefined the aesthetic of Batman for a while. And so the exaggerated Gothic Gotham City,
mm-hmm.
And the emblem, I think of like the Batman ride at Six Flags. You know what I mean? It's that same aesthetic. Or like I grew up watching the Batman animated series, and it's animated, but the cityscape is that kind of retro futuristic Gothic vibe. So this definitely had a lasting impact. Watching it yesterday, is the first time I've watched it in quite a while with a lens of criticism and critiquing and kind of actually trying to pay attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I really love it. Obviously, I love Batman. But it's really actually a bit sillier than I remember. It's crazy because this was the first movie that took Batman in a darker tone with the all black and the Tim Burton. But it's actually quite goofy in some ways. It's got a bit of camp in there. And I think when you know that, it really works within itself. Like Bruce Wayne he's not the suave, posh. He's kind of quirky, kind of nerdy. But I really like it. It's hard to not spoil it because it's, 40 years old almost, 35 years old. But, Jack Nicholson was untouchable for a while as Joker. I love it. I think also from a filmmaking perspective, the effects are really interesting. And kind of the effects, how they do that stuff was really cool to watch. Obviously, it's not going to look as polished as something now, but
sure.
And Tim Burton's got a very distinct style, so I really liked it.
Yeah. Did you know it won an Oscar for like set design?
I believe
stuff?
that. Yeah. But for many people, and for some people still, this is the definitive Batman. So
interesting.
Who am I to argue that? I like it a lot. What about you?
I could argue that. I could argue
it too. In fact, I will.
I guess it's my turn, isn't it?
It is.
So, I remember watching this movie as a child. I didn't remember any of the details. So it's almost as if this was a first watch for me.
Oh, nice.
And going into it, I knew I had to temper my expectations because the first Batman movies that I watched were the Christopher Nolan films.
Okay.
Which, is a pretty high bar to
say,
achieve,
yeah, those are good.
I'll say that it was campy, but it was really refreshing. And I'm sort of comparing this to other superhero movies nowadays, not Christopher Nolan's Batman or the more recent Batman movie with Robert Pattinson, because all four of those films are excellent. But it was really refreshing. I feel like there are a lot of plot points that happened in this movie. I was trying to like recollect for a movie in a minute about what I'm going to say. I'm like, oh, there's a lot that happens in this movie. Whereas I feel like films nowadays, like superhero movies especially, there's like 4 things that happen and then they fill the rest with action and jokes.
Yeah.
But this is like a very like plot-centric movie, and it's campy and silly, but I do really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I think that they did a good job with that. I could tell that they were trying to be dark. So I didn't know the context that you gave, a couple minutes ago, but I could tell that they were trying to create this it's Tim Burton, right? So this like dark Gotham City, but they couldn't get away from like the silly, Adam West style joke. It's not all the way there, but like it felt sort of adjacent, right? Like it felt like it was one step up the ladder from that. But overall, like I had a good time watching it. It's not my favorite Batman movie, of course, but I'm excited to talk about it in more depth.
Yeah, well, I'm very excited, but first, you have to explain the entire movie in a minute.
Yeah, we're gonna see. We're gonna see how that goes.
Here's my song.
But first,
spoilers.
Yeah, we've been
in case you haven't seen this. Spoilers. Hold on, listen. Everybody, listen up. If you're watching this in the future, there are spoilers for Batman '89, and I guess potentially spoilers for The Flash. Maybe, I don't know. If you haven't seen either of those movies, well, maybe.
How?
I doubt it.
We haven't seen The Flash yet, so how could there be spoilers for it?
I said potentially. Anyway, spoilers for Batman '89. I'll just cut all this out.
Stupid.
Here we go. This is Zach doing movie in a minute. He's gonna do a movie in a minute. Yeah. There you go. You ready? You don't have a timer up, do you?
I do. It's up. It's
okay.
up. I'm just trying to buy time so I can remember what happens.
A man gets in a bat costume.
Yeah. Okay, I'm ready.
And fights a clown. Here we go. It's on you.
I count it down. Movie in a minute. Batman 1989 in 3, 2, 1, go. So we cold open. It's a family of 3. They get mugged. You think it's going to be the Bruce Wayne murder scene, but it's not. Batman comes in and saves the day. Harvey Dent has been named attorney general, whatever the fuck, a district attorney, whatever. You know what I'm trying to say, okay? He doesn't really do much. Commissioner Gordon also doesn't really do much. Meanwhile, the mayor wants to throw a party because it's been 200 years of Gotham City. You've got Vicky and Knox. They're trying to hunt down Batman. They go to Bruce Manor and meet Bruce, but Bruce gets called away because something's going on. Commissioner Gordon just left. So he goes and he tries to save Joker. Joker falls in a vat of acid, or actually not Joker, Jack Napier, and then he becomes Joker, and then he creates this laughing gas and spreads it all over the city. Meanwhile, Vicky and Bruce are dating, and she tries to find out more about him. A bunch of shit happens, balloons explode, and then Joker falls to his death, and then they get the bat signal.
Perfect. Amazing.
Movie in a minute.
I love how you were so thorough. You were so thorough in the beginning.
Yeah. I was trying to be thorough throughout, but I got caught up on the...
No, it was good.
on the district attorney part. that lost me about 7 seconds.
Yeah. So on that, actually, I want to mention, I just think this is interesting. And we're going to talk about the film, obviously, but I think what this film became is also why it's such a classic. And it just steer me if I go off course. This is your episode.
Okay.
But,
go off course.
There's casting reactions are no surprise these days, right? Ben Affleck got cast. Oh my God, terrible decision. Especially with Batman. Pattinson got cast. Oh my God, terrible decision. Heath Ledger got cast. Oh my God, terrible decision. Anytime, especially when it comes to the color of the person, the race, Little Mermaid gets cast, major backlash because she's not.
Or are you
going to
talk about Billy Dee Williams?
Yes, exactly. And
if that happened today, can you imagine?
It'd be the end of the world. People would lose their minds.
Right.
And what's funny is that there's some, even when Jeffrey Wright got cast as Gordon in Pattinson's Batman, there was still people who were like, "Oh my gosh, what? Like he's not an old white man."
Right. Even after the. Okay. Yeah.
But what's funny is that I don't know if there was a ton of backlash. I think there was, but ironically, the biggest backlash was about Michael Keaton because he was known as a comedic actor, and he was Mr. Mom. People were like, "Mr. Mom can't be Batman. That's stupid." But
just like people were saying, was was Robert Pattinson Edward?
Yes, yeah, he was. He was.
I didn't want to get that wrong. Just like they were saying, Edward can't be Batman, right?
Yeah, he was great. But there were casting, even back then, this is one of the first quote-unquote comic book movies, right, that like redefined the genre.
Mm-hmm.
And there were already these big old backlashes of like, no, that guy can't be. And there's interviews with Billy Dee Williams, he was cast with the promise of Two-Face.
Okay.
Where he was going to be Two-Face in the third Batman. Which I think would have been amazing. And that eventually became Tommy Lee Jones in the whole reworked,
right.
Shoemaker Batmans. But yeah, this movie like laid the foundation of like quote unquote serious comic book movies. You get somebody like Jack Nicholson attached. He's top billed. You know that he's top billed in this movie.
He is top billed, which is, I mean, it makes sense.
So he adds like a layer of credibility. But yeah, this Batman was a goofy. He wore light blue and gray and was a super campy Adam West. And then they show Michael Keaton in that. And I actually really liked the first intro scene where it kind of pulls the twist where it's like, oh, this is not the Waynes,
I thought it was going to be, because even nowadays we see the murder scene every time
Yep.
There's a new iteration.
Yeah.
We get it again. It's like Order 66. Have we seen that? Like,
oh my God.
100.
That's a really good example, actually. We've seen Order 66 a million times.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think of, so let me ask you this. I remember watching this when I was a kid, and like when he like floats down and then they see him and he always like brings his cape up or whatever.
Yeah.
I remember it's really funny. It's like old horror to me where it's like when you're a kid, you're like, oh my God, it's Batman. Whoa. But when you watch it, everything kind of moves slower and you're like, oh,
sure.
Okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Was it like that for you?
It was, but the pacing had to be different. I feel like movies are so quick nowadays because we're so used to watching movies. And I'm not saying that like back in the 80s, people only watched like 3 movies a year. But what I'm saying is the more people watch them, I think the quicker their mind can work, if that makes sense. Like think about like back in the, like when it was just like black and white, no, just like piano music in the background. Those movies were slow, right?
Yeah.
They moved quite slow. They even gave you, the words weren't on the screen at the same time as the picture. You saw like something happen and then words, and it's like, oh, I have time to think here. And so, anyways, that was a long diatribe just to say that, yes, I did notice that specifically when he floated down or like zip-lined back up.
Yeah, and
It
like
was-
those are fine. I was meaning like there's a part where like the guys like turn to see him, and he's there, and he just sort of stands there and goes
Oh yeah,
with his
yeah,
cape,
yeah.
but it's supposed to be some menacing thing, and I was like, okay, yeah. I mean, if
At
I
no
was them,
point, at no point did I think that anyone was menacing in this movie. Not
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson as the Joker or Michael Keaton as the Batman. And that doesn't do a disservice to it, but yeah.
he's actually quite small. Like there's a scene later when he's like running through the streets with Vicky,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like he's little, you know.
Yeah.
Like you
Right.
you look at, in my opinion, I might get shit for this. The most comic accurate aesthetic Batman
Right.
was Ben Affleck in BVS,
Sure.
and he's massive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
He's
Michael
a big
Keaton's
guy.
Batman is quite small. Like he's running
got-
around.
He's got the like Jerry Seinfeld haircut, and it just
Yeah.
like it
Yeah.
felt like Jerry Seinfeld as Batman at parts because of the haircut. I don't know why I couldn't.
Well,
get
it's
past
funny
that.
too because he famously like can't turn his head,
Yeah.
and so he's
Yeah.
like
Right.
there's that one where he has to
he
he has
goes
to
to
look up.
and he's-
He's playing limbo.
right.
I was like, bro. But I think what's fascinating about this movie is that it's all practical. Like everything is practical. So when
Okay.
he's floating up, yeah, he's like on a zip line, and he's like,
Well, there was one point where I was gonna make a note because he's floating down, and you can clearly see like a line, and I was like, oh come on, it's.
well,
but
he does use the thing.
But then, like directly after that, you see him disconnect his thing. So he was using the thing to get down. It wasn't just like a zip line in the shot. Or a fucking wire. I thought that they just like forgot to take out the wire is what I thought happened. But then it was like, oh, he's using that. Okay,
Yeah.
I like that.
You know what's funny? This is super random. Did you ever see the Batman stage show at Six Flags?
No. Do you want to
So-
hear something crazy?
Have you ever been to Six Flags?
I've never been to Six Flags.
What?
I've been to Whitewater a couple times, but I've never been to Six Flags proper.
Okay, so real quick, our listeners in Georgia might know this, but Six Flags over Georgia, they have like the sections of the park, right? And one section is Gotham City, and they have
Okay.
the Batman ride, and they have the Mindbender, which is like the Riddler, and they had like a Michael Keaton replica Batmobile there, all this kind of stuff. And the rides and the buildings and the stands and stuff in Gotham City are designed to look like Burton's like Gotham City.
Okay.
And you can go see a stage show, and it's this Batman. Like he has the Keaton costume, and they do the
Is it
zip
Keaton?
lines.
Is he on like?
It's literally Keaton.
Yeah.
He came to
Well, I mean, you never know.
what is it, Barnesville?
Hugh Jackman does freaking magic shows now, so he's basically doing like the.
Oh, really?
Prestige
That's
thing.
awesome. Anyway, but they would do the practical zip lines and stuff. And I really appreciate that. I think watching this movie was interesting to me because I kind of already knew what it did to the genre. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And it sort of like evokes, like this is in the campiness of like this of the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. Like it tries to kind of walk a line. I think it's campier than that.
I think it's a different kind of campy because I personally think that the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies are levels campier than this
Really?
was. Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Okay.
They are campy, and this is not so much. Honestly,
Well, it's funny. Yeah, it's funny because like, yeah, I can see that. It's still a different because I'm thinking of like the Maguire movies was like in the era of like X-Men and
Mm-hmm.
like those kind of super camp.
Yeah.
And I guess actually, that was 2001, right? So that would have been around the time of like 99, I think, was like Batman Forever, Batman Robin, one of those.
Yes. It was. I think it was Batman Forever. I can double check.
But what'd you think of Keaton's Bruce Wayne?
Keaton's Bruce Wayne was interesting. Like you were saying earlier, he's like a little quirky, a little nerdy.
Yeah.
It's very different. That I would say that. Can I just compare the three that I know?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you
for
got
sure.
you got Christian Bale, you got Robert Pattinson, and then you got Michael Keaton. All
You're
three
not
of
going
them
to do
are.
Ben Affleck?
Here's the thing. Can we just get that out of the way? He didn't get his own movie, so
That's
it's
true.
it's
True.
it's harder to do, honestly.
Facts. Yeah.
If he had gotten his own movie, then sure, I would throw him into the bunch. But it's so disappointing. Anyways, let's come back. All three of the Batman that I talked about, and sure, we'll throw Ben Affleck in there. They're all four like very distinct from one another. Like they have a completely different attitude. Pattinson is like super angsty and young and just like filled with like, oh, I gotta do this. I gotta like literally like sacrifice my body to save Gotham.
Yep.
And Christian Bale is like kind of an asshole, kind of has like a Iron Man complex going on, but like super suave and like
Yeah, the Playboy.
sure.
Yeah.
And then Keaton's Batman is interesting because it never like I never felt like I got enough exposition as to why he was doing it. Like, it just felt like this, like, quirky guy who's just, like, kind of awkward and, like, doing these things, and then he puts on a costume and does stuff.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like, it never really, like, sunk in. Like, yeah, his parents were killed.
Yeah.
But it just didn't feel, like, fully explored. But, yeah, as Bruce Wayne, I thought he was fine. I thought it was funny at the dinner party where she's like, do you know which one of these guys is Bruce Wayne? He's like, oh, I'm not sure actually. And then when they're in the little like armory area, just like making fun of all the shit, and he's like, oh, actually that's from Italy or whatever he says.
Yeah. And he's like, how do you know? And he's like, I bought it there.
Right. It felt smooth. It didn't feel like jarring, but it's just very distinct and different. But it's hard for me to. And maybe it gets explained more in Batman Returns, and I haven't seen Batman Returns, or at least not that I remember.
Yeah.
But it's hard for me to connect the dots as to why he's doing the Batman thing, other than the context that we have from like Batman lore.
Just knowing Batman. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because all we see him. He's a very distant like he's like, I have a very important meeting, I have to go to town, and he just goes to like his parents' grave, well, not grave, but like, where they died. And we do see it. We do see, because we find out that it's Jack. Jack kills. That was a big controversy thing, too. Yeah,
I was thinking that wasn't necessarily canon.
It's not. And what's funny is that, real quick, I'll go into that in a second, but we do see the flashback, but all we see is him just, like, put the roses down, and then he walks off.
Right.
But, yeah, there's not a lot of... He is obviously lonely because he wants to know Vicky Vale, and he even brings her to the Batcave, which I'll get to that later. That part to me is so strange.
He doesn't bring her into the Batcave.
Alfred does, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, he does bring her in, but not as Bruce. He brings her in as Batman, and then knocks her out, I guess. But then, later on, Alfred brings her in because Alfred wants her to know the truth or something.
They don't even really even talk about it. Like,
no, they don't.
That scene happened. Like he tries when Joker.
They just have.
There's that scene where it's the whole like let's get nuts scene where he gets shot and everything.
Yeah.
Where he's like trying to tell her and he's like nervous and all awkward. But then when Alfred like brings her into the fucking Batcave, she's just like, I don't know what to make of all this. And he's just like, I gotta do it.
Right. It's really like the classic like 80s, 90s trope of like, I'm free as a bird, baby. And I gotta keep going. I can't keep going down that road, baby.
Yeah,
see you later.
Like, she's like, "Are we gonna try to love each other?" And he's like,
"Right,
I want to, but I gotta go to work."
Yeah.
You mean you gotta go be Batman? Is that like? But anyway, yeah. So it's Joker because he, as Joker tends to do, for better or worse, worse being Suicide Squad, he inherently steals the show. Ledger stole it for better, which is still widely considered probably the greatest comic book villain ever. in my opinion. But for a long time, that was Jack Nicholson's Joker.
Better than
And-
Red Skull, Hunter?
I'm sorry,
That was-
that's a hot
that
take.
was-
It's a hot take. But yeah, so in the comic books, Joker doesn't really have an origin, but there's a famous book called The Killing Joke, which is almost the
Mhm.
exact same, in the sense that they go to in the book it's called Ace Chemicals. It's a robbery gone wrong. He falls into a vat of acid, goes insane, becomes Joker. In no way has Joker ever been the one who killed his parents. But I think Burton wanted to make it like a cyclical, you created me, but I created you first, this whole thing.
Yeah.
I don't really mind it within the context of this movie, I don't need it to be connected. Like in Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, when he goes and sees young Bruce Wayne,
Mhm.
I'm like, I don't need him to be connected that much, because when Batman's 30, Joker's gonna be 70, so it kind of breaks the lore there. But yeah, did it make it too convenient for you? Was it too much of a was it a surprise? Did it have an impact?
It was a surprise that didn't have an impact.
Oh, there you go.
I mean, because it probably would have had more of an impact if I was sitting down and watching this in 1989, and this was my new Batman movie. This was my brand new Batman movie, right? And I'd either love it or hate it. But watching, it's almost like going back and dipping into the archive, right? This doesn't really this isn't going to piss me off. This, you know what I mean? This isn't going to affect me because it's a movie from the 80s, if that makes sense.
Yeah, true. But also, how do I say this? You're somebody who is mature enough, believe it or not, to to recognize that people can take something and tweak it. You know what I mean?
Sure. 3 of my favorite movies are the Lord of the Rings films, and those are not 100% book accurate. And the changes that were made, I accept them, and I love them, and I love those movies. So I've always felt anytime anyone's that's not exactly what happened in the comic books, I don't like them. I just instantly
because
I'm not your friend now. I don't want to come to your potluck. I'll talk to you in 5 years.
Well, they forget that those comic books that they hold so sacred were once new ideas that broke the mold.
Right. And I think they forget that their the beginning point of their sacred franchise, Iron Man, was not comic book accurate.
Oh, it was by the skin of their teeth. They just were whatever, let's just.
And it was awesome.
And it was great. But we've seen, speaking of Marvel, we've seen them cater to that in the sense of Iron Man 3, where the Mandarin was this, fool's gold type ruse, and people were like, that's trash, and now I hate everything you're ever going to make. And they were like, sorry, just kidding. The real Mandarin's out there. He's still real.
Yeah.
He's going to be in Shang-Chi. You know what I mean? And all they did was say a line where they're like, oh, they used my name once.
Right.
And that's it. But somehow that rectifies it. When in reality, it's no, this could just be a new idea,
That's right.
Because this Joker is he's already kind of crazy.
Yeah,
You know what I
he's
mean?
insane before he gets in the acid, right?
Yeah, and he has he has his deck of cards and everything.
And you get this weird. Who's the lieutenant? Lieutenant Dickface.
Eckhart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was close.
Pretty close, yeah.
I hated him. He's not in the
Yeah.
film for long, but I did not like him.
Let's just get this out of the way. There's a handful of characters that are just kind of dumb in the sense of how they're even portrayed.
Commissioner
this
Gordon is
Gordon
useless.
is stupid. I cannot stand this Gordon. I don't know what it is. It's like there's a weird thing of like the politicians and like federal people in this movie that they're almost like a parody of like the fast talking gangsters from the 40s where they're like,
sure,
I don't know, man,
yeah.
whatever, hey, whatever, you see, and it's just like, what is this?
But they're all incompetent. Also,
he's also he's a bad cop. He's this terrible cop.
Yeah. The cops are all incompetent too. Think about the scene where with all the fucking mimes, and then Joker just like comes out and he's like, this is the pen that's signed in his blood, and he just like kills the guy and just like gets in the car and leaves. Which I guess a bunch of people, but there were cops standing back there that watched him like do that and were just like fucking standing there like,
Also, maybe this is just they got who they could, but it looks like every single person in this movie, besides maybe Joker, who fires a gun, has never fired a gun in their entire life.
Yeah, they got stormtroopers. They got the same actors that were on the Star Wars movies, and they got the stormtroopers.
There's one cop who literally his form, he's like squatting down, and he has like both hands on like a revolver pistol.
Yeah,
but his arms are like, he's like pew pew, and it's like, bro,
there's a
doing?
lot of those. One scene that's burned into my mind is after the whole I gotta do what I gotta do, baby.
I have to go to work, baby.
I gotta go to work, baby. And he drives into the chemical plant, and he goes through the gate, and there's like 20 people just like lined up, like they were waiting on him. I guess maybe they were, but it's still kind of like, okay. But they're all in like a weird shooting stance, and it's burned into my mind.
Also, one thing that I just gotta point these things out because I think it's hilarious. When BVS came out, you remember the whole big, uproar of like, oh my God, Ben Affleck's Batman murdered some people.
Yeah.
Keaton's Batman kills like 100 people.
Keaton's
blows people up.
Keaton's Batman kills people. I feel like in the first scene he killed somebody. Like in the cold open, doesn't he kill one of the guys? Like accidentally, but one of them dies.
I don't know. I can't remember if either of them die, but they're talking about somebody who was like thrown off a building or something. Remember, they're like the blood was drained from his body. And I was like, oh my God. But he blows up Ace Chemicals or whatever, Axis Chemicals.
Mm-hmm.
Like that dude, he throws that guy down the bell tower. Like,
right.
So he kills everybody, basically. He actually tells Joker, I'm going to kill you.
He does. Yeah.
But anyway, no. So I liked Nicholson's Joker, but he is just a crazier Jack Nicholson. You know what I mean?
Yes. This is Jack Nicholson. This is like Jack Torrance in The Shining plus acid on the face,
And I think it works. Like he's manic, and he has a really, really good laugh. I'll say that. He's got a really good laugh. But I liked that this Joker was scary and was serious and a murderer and a homicidal, psychopath, but also was just kind of goofy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like the Cesar Romero, Adam West Joker is the like, I'm going to squeeze this flower and it's going to squirt water in your face. I'm like, ha, 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 ha. And Heath Ledger's Joker is the carve your face open with a Glasgow smile.
Right.
Crazy. But this Joker's like both, where he's like...
Yeah, because he has the flower. It's just filled with acid, not water.
It's acid. But he's really goofy, and he makes all the puns. And, like, there's that one scene where he, like, dances out to his hallway, and then he goes... and, like, runs away. It's like, what is this?
Speaking of the puns, it's interesting to watch a movie like this from the 80s because there were some, like, little, like, dad jokes and puns that I just didn't get. Like
what?
I guess there is a bat in my belfry. Never heard that in my life. What does that mean? What's a bat in my belfry?
Right, hold on. I know we're talking about Joker. I fucking cannot stand Knox. I cannot stand him.
Yeah.
It's overacted to me. It's this hammed up like, whoa, well, look, there's a guy with a bat suit. I was like, dude, Stop it. Just stop it. I don't think I hate the idea of his character of like the guy like who believes in the Batman and no one thinks people think he's crazy.
You hate the execution.
But I think if I saw him, I'd be like, shut up. Like,
Yeah. Well, everyone at work is telling him to shut up.
It's just
Except
overly,
for
like,
Vicky, and Vicky's just using him to get laid. Get
that's
closer.
true.
She didn't even need him. Like, what did he do? Did he do anything? She took the pictures. She got them to Bruce Manor. I guess
and
maybe
then she lost
Wayne Manor. Huh?
And then she lost him. Remember?
Well, she did lose him, but like, what does he do other than just like give us a body for certain scenes where none of the other characters are there, and he's there to like record something? You know, like that's all he does.
But also, like, nobody ever actually talks to him.
Yeah,
he's constantly like throwing a recorder in his face, saying, "What do you think?" And they're like, "Dude, no, like, leave me alone."
Yeah, get out of my face.
He made a cameo in the CW Arrowverse, though. I don't know if you know that.
I did not.
They did like a crisis event where like they went to different universes, and he cameoed. It was the Batman '89 universe, and like Batman was in the newspaper, but that actor came back and like. But I can't. I've never, even from day one, like when I was a kid, I did not like his character. I was like, he's annoying.
Yeah, well, that's because he is.
And he doesn't actually, to your point, doesn't actually do anything for the plot of the movie.
Well, Harvey Dent doesn't do anything for the plot of the movie. Commissioner Gordon sure as shit doesn't do anything for the plot of the movie, other than like very beginning, like exposition. Like we're in a town and we're gonna clean up crime. You know,
he goes to Ace Chemicals in a tuxedo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
How many characters carry over from this film into the sequel that also had Michael Keaton in it? Like, is Vicky in it?
I don't think so. I don't think Vicky Vale is in it. I think it's Keaton, Gordon, and then Alfred.
So,
and
Billy Dee Williams didn't even come back as Harvey Dent, even though they told him that he was going to be Two-Face in the third film.
Let me find out. Hold on a second.
Good casting.
Returns.
Good casting for the young Jack Napier. We already talked about that scene where he finds out that it was Jack that killed his parents, or he realizes that.
Yeah.
But that was a good casting because he had the smile, which might have been just a prosthetic. I don't know, but it looked like a young Jack Nicholson.
It looked more natural. Like the smile looked more like a natural smile than.
Yeah.
No, it does not. I do not see that. Billy Dee is in Batman Returns, and I actually think. Let me see. 1 second. I want to check.
Take your time.
Okay, Gordon comes back. That's pretty much it.
Cool.
And then,
what about Alfred?
Alfred.
Okay.
Because Alfred's also the only one to carry over to the Clooney.
It's the same Alfred.
Yeah, he's the only through line.
Is it supposed to be a continuity, even though they changed the Batman actor?
Yes. Isn't that crazy?
Ugh, I don't. Ugh.
I mean, it's so like.
So technically, the Batman that we're going to see in The Flash fought Arnold Schwarzenegger as
so
Mr. Freeze or whatever
from
his name
what
is.
from what I gather, from what I've heard of rumors, this was a long time ago, is that this Batman in The Flash is the Batman from this movie. Apparently,
Not the sequel.
They even disregard Returns. I don't know for sure, but I would imagine that if it's Keaton, they would do, if they include movies sequels, it'd be just this one and Returns because like
it does feel like.
But hold on. By the time it gets to Clooney, it's a disjointed, different continuity.
Yeah.
But they try to do a little carryover with
Val Kilmer.
Let me actually, because even his bat suit is kind of similar.
Okay.
That's Batman Forever. Let me see what the cast here. But even then, like Tommy Lee Jones becomes Harvey Dent. you know?
Yeah. I was going to say it does feel like this Gotham isn't just like this complete cesspool of crime where there's like multiple crime families and there's all these different players. It feels like it's Grissom is a dick and he owns all these companies, and then Jack Napier is just like under him and wants to be in charge. And then you know, so it does feel like it's like once they defeat Joker at the end of this movie, it feels like the city's saved and they're good, right?
He even like sends a letter. He's like, if you ever need me again, I'll be back. It's
right.
Like, are you done? I just finished up what we said though. In Batman Forever, which is Kilmer, Gordon and Alfred carry over.
Okay.
Which is interesting. Tim Burton originally wanted to do a third movie, but Batman Returns is divisive and it goes kind of, it's super dark. It's not quite as campy. It's like, you know, really kind of psychologically weird. And he wanted to have Two-Face and he wanted to have Marlon Wayans actually as Robin.
Okay.
But none of that panned out, obviously. So I would say it was intended to be a continuation, but it's not really. I'm not sure where I was going to go with that, but
That's okay.
lost.
We can move. I want to get your opinion on a couple things.
All right.
So Joker's motivation at first is screw Grissom, right? He doesn't like Grissom. He wants to take over, and then Grissom tries to have him killed by tipping off Lieutenant Eckhart, right? And then that doesn't work, and then he comes back and he's like, oh, we can make a deal, right? And then he shoots him behind the back, blah, 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 blah. After that point, is he just motivated by the fact that Batman let him fall into the acid? Like, I know he's a criminal and he's going to do criminal stuff, but it seems like it's something more, right? It seems like it's personal.
Well, it's almost like he's like, Batman's getting all my press.
Okay.
You know, we're like, it's maybe as silly as that.
Yeah,
but
you're right.
He's like, Batman's taking all my, you know, because like in the comic books, and one of the best dynamics that's ever been kind of put to film, quote unquote, is in the animated series, which is Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill. And like that Joker is just like, I just want to play games with you. Like, I don't even have a motive. I exist to cause you chaos.
That's the tone of like the Arkham games too, right? It's just like, I literally just want to fuck with you.
Yeah, and that's why, you know, even in The Dark Knight, it's not as personal with Joker and Batman, but he is like, I don't have, you know, I have no plan. I just want to just, what does he say? Like,
introduce a little anarchy.
Yeah, like that scene where he's like, I'm a dog chasing cars. I wouldn't know what to do when I caught it. And there's that famous Alfred speech where he's like, some men just want to watch the world burn, you know, burn the forest down. But yeah, this one, it's sort of like this petty, like, I mean, he's an egotist, he's a narcissist, and he's like, I'm going to be the king of Gotham. And Batman, like, I'm the craziest one here, not Batman, so let's fight. What is funny to me, though, and I always thought this was very strange, let me know what you think, is that he basically, like, kills tons of people with these products. And then he, like, hijacks the mayor's
party and says, I'm going to give you all a bunch of money.
Well, he, like, hijacks the mayor's festival cancellation speech, right? And then, let me get some water. Sorry, hold on. And he's like, I'm sorry. I want there to be a party. Let's do it. I'm going to give away $20 million.
$2 million. Was it $2 million or $20?
$2 million. I don't know. He's like, at midnight, I'm going to throw $2 million on the street. And then everyone's like, oh, great. That's amazing. Everything's fine.
It's because Gotham's desperate.
So they let this mass murderer have a parade, and he's like on the float dancing. And maybe that's to illustrate like the actual greed of the city and like, you know, whatever. But
Well, that's
is
what
just
Knox says, and it doesn't really hit
he's like,
because we hate Knox, but he's like, look at him. The greed of Gotham.
Yeah, I always thought that was kind of odd. Where he's like, why do they let him have a parade?
Yeah, because they do. They just let it happen, and then he's got all the balloons, and they've all got gas in them. One joke that hit for me, I thought it was really funny. It was more like an ongoing gag. Was the fact that the news anchors were obviously not showering or like wearing any makeup or anything.
I didn't notice that until like this watch. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that they just look awful. They look terrible.
Yeah.
But I really liked, and then I have one little thought, and then I want to get your thought on something.
Okay.
I liked. There's a lot more nuances to Nicholson's performance than I realized. Like, just the psychoticness of it, but also little callbacks. Like I didn't realize when, at the beginning, what's the guy's name? Grissom. When he's like, I want you to do this this chemical robbery because he knows he's sleeping with his girlfriend, right?
Right.
And he grabs him and he's like, Jack, you are my number one guy. And then later, Joker like says to Bob, where he's like, you are my number one guy. And I was like, oh, that's funny. Like when I was younger, I was like, that goes over my head.
Right.
But those little callbacks are really funny. Also, I loved Bob. The OG, rest in power, man. He gets shot for no reason. Bob's just always there.
Yep.
But my thought is, what do you think of the soundtrack? Prince. Tim Burton directs a Batman movie with Mr. Mom as the lead, and Prince does the soundtrack.
Yeah. I mean, Prince is great. It wasn't jarring until the parade. And the parade was extremely jarring. Like, I was like, this does not fit the tone of the movie whatsoever.
So you think, like, even the museum scene was fine?
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with the museum scene. I'm telling you, it didn't jump out at me until he's on the float and Prince is literally singing Truth. And Jack Nicholson is, like doing choreography along with the song. And I was like, this I do not like. Yeah,
there's one line too where it's funny because it's almost like on purpose where like there's no dialogue happening, and the lyric is just sex. Like, yeah, and I was like,
yeah,
what? Because I had captions on, and I was reading the lyrics, and I was like, oh, this kind of relates, and then I was just like, sex, and I was like,
early on in the lyrics, Hunter, it's talking about like, it's me and you and we're lovers or something, you know. It's like how do we trust one another as lovers is the song, and it just
That's funny. I actually I agree. I think it didn't like kill it for me, but I think that it actually works really well in the museum scene. I like that scene as a whole. I think it's really, really good.
Yeah.
And how he'll wear like fake makeup to look normal, and then he'll like wipe it off.
Right.
I think it's a good aesthetic.
Which is interesting because later in the film, and I wanted to ask you about this, so I'm glad that you brought it up because I would have forgotten. Later in the film, he's completely like normal skin tone, and it's when he hijacks the thing and says, I'm throwing a parade, I'm going to throw money around, and the Batman's going to be there and we're going to fight. And he points at his face and he says, I've taken off my makeup, now it's time for you to take off yours. Making it sound like he wasn't wearing makeup then.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the genius of it, where he's lying. You know, like it's another ruse where he, you know, I guess maybe.
So you're telling me the acid made his face completely white and his lips,
whole body, his skin,
lips blood red.
And his hair green.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
That's comic accurate. Because when his hand comes out of the vat, his hand's white.
It's
and
white,
actually, you know, Dark Knight is just makeup. But in Suicide Squad, they bring that back. And it's white skin, and he does it because they go into the vat of acid.
But I thought in Suicide Squad, I thought he like tattooed his whole body white or something.
No, he just has stupid tattoos. But his body's skin is white.
What's it say on his forehead?
Which is damaged.
Yeah. Oh, God. Oh no.
That's a different Joker. But anyway,
imagine being the worst DC villain, and then also being the worst Marvel villain because Morbius is. I know it's Sony, but still, it's the worst. Do you think you've seen Venom, right? Do you think that Morbius is worse than Venom?
Venom is, yes, and Venom is trash. I hated Venom, but Morbius was so bad that I had a good time.
Yeah.
Which means
too.
it's worse. Like that means it's worse. Like
right.
There's a line where it's like, this movie's so bad that this is an awful experience.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it gets even worse, you're like, this is fun, because it's even worse.
Yeah.
Venom is a bad movie. I did not like. They're making a third one,
okay.
so I don't understand how. But anyway,
bringing it back.
We can wrap it up.
If there's anything else I wanted to ask you.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, the final bell tower fight and that whole sequence. Did you like the sword guy?
Yeah, I was about to ask, what the hell is up with the sword? You know what that felt like? And it's fine. But it felt like at the studio, they were like, we can't just have, like, people punching each other. We need something else. And they were like, well, we had this guy that knows how to fight with swords. Do you want him to do some flips and shit? And then like they were just like,
I have a theory. They were like, hey, we need more people to fight Batman. And some guy goes, yo, my cousin was the crazy sword guy from Indiana Jones.
Okay, yeah.
Who, like, gets shot, you know?
Yeah.
And they're like, let's do the same thing, where he just goes crazy and they just do, like, one hit and then he's down. And they're like, call him up.
But then he comes back.
Call up old Gary and let's get him in here.
Yeah. Shout out to Gary, because he was a highlight for sure. Because it's the same guy in the Belfry, right?
I don't know. I think so. Yeah, I think so. But then there's another guy who falls down the tower.
That's another one. That's
a dude who's beating the shit out of Batman. Like, it's not even close. And then he somehow uses his legs to, like, choke him and throw him down.
I thought, and I know it's 1989, I thought the action was underwhelming up until the point where that guy started beating the shit out of Batman. And I was like, okay, this is decent.
It's whelming.
It's whelming, yeah.
It was whelming.
But before that point, I thought all of the action was kind of ass.
Because the dude, Keaton can't move.
Right.
Like, he can't move in the Batsuit. He literally can't move. It's like a 40-pound rubber suit.
Do you want to hear something funny? He gets up into the Belfry, and this dude just starts doing, like, front flip. I thought that was Jack Nicholson. I thought it was gonna be like the Rat Man in John Wick 4, you know, where like this bigger man is just, like, super agile and, like, knows fucking kung fu or something.
Yeah.
I thought Jack Nicholson was just gonna start beating the shit out of him.
That'd be hilarious. I would have loved it. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a cool fight. I really loved, and this is why I kind of wish that they didn't connect Joker to, like, Batman's parents. I like his "You Ever Dance with the Devil," the Pale Moonlight, you know, like,
yeah.
I would like that. Well, I mean, I guess I can kind of see why it would make sense that it's just some random thing. Like, he doesn't care. You know, like, it's just, I say that to just whoever because I think it's funny. That's a famous line. I like that. I always thought it was really strange how when he's dancing with Vicky at the top, she's like a rag doll. Did you notice that? And she's like...
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's happening? But...
She's helpless. She's the helpless dame.
I know. It gets played up too much, I think, in my opinion. But
it does.
Then he dies. Also, last question, and then we can be done because we're at an hour. Joker dies. He, you know, I love that death shot. I think it's really cool of him there, but it's the laugh box is still going. I think that's really...
I didn't like the laugh. Like, he's dead.
No, I liked that laugh.
If it was a bomb or something.
But I was going to say, what is it? They just take it out and look at it. And they're like...
Right. I think it's just a sound box, but I think that's dumb. I think it should have been a bomb. I think that his contingency plan should have been, when I die, this bomb goes off, and Batman has to take it on his plane into the sunset, and then Alfred's going to be waiting at dinner.
No, it's Tenet. It's Tenet, though, because when he dies, the bomb goes off.
Right.
And the past gets erased.
It's both. That's right. When the bomb goes off, everyone in the world forgets about Adam West Batman because the past is erased.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. I think that the laugh box would have worked better if we didn't see what it was. It was just like, like zoom in on it laughing, and then it's like, what the hell's going on? And then it cuts, and that's it.
Yeah, I thought it was just like what's it called? So there's, movies. You're gonna know you're gonna know the term. There's sound that's like in the scene that like everyone in the scene can hear, and then there's sound that's like for the viewer, but the scene the characters can't hear it. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's like when you hear fucking music that's not,
diegetic sound.
Yeah. I thought it was
actually. So yeah, it's the Prince song in the museum. It's technically diegetic because the guy has the boombox. Yeah.
But
so you think it was non-diegetic?
Correct. I thought it was just like he never stops smiling, and so in our mind and in everyone's mind, they hear his laugh when they see his like dead visage. And I thought the sound box was stupid.
So you think it would have worked better if it was just like a psychological thing?
Yeah, I think it would have, because I'm into that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's about it, I think.
Yeah, you're right.
So who asked the question? Do you ask me or do I ask you?
You're going to ask me.
Okay.
You asked me at the beginning of the episode, right?
I was about to say, you think I'd know this by now. We're at like 130 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Zach. Actually, I'm very excited to ask this question to you because you don't really care for comic book movies. That was loud. That's going to be in the audio. I hope you know that. Hold on a second. You just farted.
Oh, goodness.
You don't really care for comic movies. You're tired of superhero movies. You're not really particularly excited for Keaton to come back in The Flash. Hold on a second. And you're tired of IP movies, which I'm on the same page. So now I need to ask you, but is Batman 89 good?
Yes, and I want to respond to what you said and say that I am sick of the saturation of IP and comic book movies that we have in today's day and age. We weren't getting 12 comic book movies a year back in the 80s.
No, I think before this we had gotten like Christopher Reeve Superman 2, and like I don't know what else. A Wonder Woman I think was made, but no Batman besides the 60s.
Right. So Tim Burton brings a cool style. It is campy. It's not the best movie, but you can't deny that Jack Nicholson gives a great performance. You can't deny that the set pieces and just the plot centric. It's funny because this is an old movie, but it's refreshing for me to watch because of the state of the comic book movies today, I think. So yeah, it's a good movie. I think it is a good movie. It's not the best movie.
Yeah. I'll give you that. I think it's like rated at like 71%, which is what The Flash is. So interesting.
Yeah, but it's a different day.
It's a different animal.
So do you think this is a good movie? I'm going to back you into a corner here. Do you think this is a good movie?
I do think it's a good movie.
Do you think Multiverse of Madness is a good movie?
No.
Didn't Multiverse of Madness get somewhere around the same rating as
I think it got higher
than Flash?
I think Thor 4 got like a 70, and that was awful, dude. I hated Thor 4.
Right.
Thor 4.
Thor 4.
And that's the thing is like, but like Interstellar's in the 70s.
Okay, but
it's like, what are you trying to do?
different genres of movie are kind of rated on different scales, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah. But I'm saying, like, look at The Batman from last year. That got like an 86. Okay. But the way it approached its story is fundamentally different than almost any comic book movie in the past few years.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's going to be a stronger 85 than, say, I'm trying to think of like Ant-Man and the Wasp is 86. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So this Batman is, I would say, is a much stronger 71 than Multiverse of Madness. If they had actually let Sam Raimi make that movie, I might have liked it, but they didn't. And it might be a stronger 71 than The Flash. What?
I'm thinking
What are you
about
laughing
something completely off topic.
What?
Do you remember the early days of the farts where I would just like
What?
hear me out. Follow me here. We would be recording in person and I would fart. And
Yes, okay.
you wanted to crank it up so that hopefully it was audible. What if you did that with with that one? It just like blows out everybody's eardrums. And so I had that thought and I just cracked myself up.
I'm gonna do that because what's funnier is that 5 minutes later they're gonna hear us talking about doing it.
Right.
That's what's so funny to me is that they're gonna be like, oh,
If their eardrums
these
have recovered,
morons.
it's gonna be loud. Okay, well, at this point in the podcast, we like
Hey,
to...
movie sucks.
Yes, because somebody hates the movie that you love. So we're going to read some shitty reviews.
This is from Ken Bunny. I'm just going to read I just want to do a couple. Back and forth. You can go first. No, you can go after me. I'm going to do one, then you. We're
Okay.
alternate. Sorry.
Okay.
This is what I thought was funny. It said, why does this movie look and feel like it had a budget of $3?
Yeah.
That was funny.
Joseph Donato says, I don't get why he's a bat because he's a man. What? And also driving is not a superpower. # Team Robin.
Robin's not even in this movie. I don't think I get that one. Let's see here. Here we go. Let's see what this says. Unbelievably bad, but I believe the unbelievable. I am the unbelievable. I am Batman. This could be a line in the movie. Still, it could be a line. The Joker says, "Call me Joker." Wait, what? Glad I watched this though because of the on cinema references, and I do like the concept of. Okay, that was disappointing. Your turn.
This one says this one, I think this person created an account just to make this review. Rhubarb Bob says 0.5 out of 5. Next time, make more rhubarb puns. Because there's one rhubarb pun in this movie.
Okay, let me just do one more. I have to give it. Wait a second. Hold on. Let's see here. Burton Batman seemed like a natural fit. His Gotham looks great, and I like Keaton's Bruce Wayne too, but I think this is a case of movies simply not standing the test of time. Interesting. I also really dislike Nicholson as an actor, so I bring that bias when I say I think every minute of his performance is awful. I think he also miscast as the Joker. I racked my brain to decide who I'd rather see in this version, and I'm going to say Ed Harris. Interesting. That was a little bit ridiculous, but also kind of grounded in fact. All right, I'm done.
I'll read one more. Esther says, this is actually insanely boring. Design is really nice in places, but why is so much time devoted to an unwatchable journalism subplot and the incomprehensible dynamics of Gotham organized crime? Nicholson is tediously wacky, and Keaton seems totally lost, mumbling his way through the Bruce Wayne scenes like he doesn't know what he wants the character to be. Really did not enjoy this at all.
That's actually quite a well thought out review.
But we
Make some decent points.
did enjoy it
We did
despite
enjoy it.
those things.
But I think that the journalism subplot is the weakest part of the film.
Spot on for sure.
Anyway, okay, shindigs, ready?
I'm ready. It's time for the news. Time for the news.
I have a little bit more this time. Here we go. I'm just going to speed through it, okay? Lucas Gage, Megan Suri, and Harvey Guillen have joined Jack Quaid's new film, a Jack Quaid starring sci-fi project. The Flash debuted at 69%, but it has gone up to 71%. We're seeing that next week. Expendables 4 has a trailer, and it has 50 Cent and Megan Fox. So that is a thing. A24 has a new film coming out called Talk to Me, and it looks quite spooky. We get a first look at the It prequel, I think it's a series called Welcome to Derry. Got new posters for Blue Beetle. Transformers Rise of the Beast debuts at 56%. And guess what? Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. If you want to see that movie, I don't give a shit about it. We're not going to see it. So if you have not seen that movie and you want to go into it blind, skip this part. But they're doing a Transformers and G.I. Joe spinoff. I mean, like crossover, apparently.
Are they really?
Apparently. Maybe that's fake. I saw it somewhere. Thought it was hilarious.
When did Transformers release?
I think it's like last week.
It was on Friday. Okay, that makes sense. Transformers made like $60 million this weekend at the box office, more than the new Spider-Man film.
Yo, and look, shout out. We had, actually, I think I already said something about Ethan saying that. I've heard that movie is incredible, Across the Spider-Verse.
Okay.
So perhaps we'll throw it in somewhere later down the road, but I've heard it's really, really amazing.
Originally, we were going to review it this week. Or last week.
Last week.
But
I wouldn't have had time to go see it, just being honest. But anyway, here we go. Let's see. Zoe Saldana, Morgan Freeman, and Nicole Kidman star in the new trailer, Special Ops Lioness. There's a new trailer for Yorgos Lanthimos' Poor Things, which stars Willem Dafoe, Mark Ruffalo, and Emma Stone. Looks very interesting. We're getting another Bird Box on Netflix called Bird Box Barcelona. Jackie Chan is returning with John Cena in a movie called Hidden Strike, and you should go watch that trailer because it looks like it was made in like a film student's garage. It looks awful. Like the CGI looks awful.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Skarsgård is apparently being eyed for the DCU's Swamp Thing, and Andy Muschietti is rumored to be directing the DCU's Batman: The Brave and the Bold. And then, do you remember the movie? I mean, the game Twisted Metal.
Yeah.
There's a movie coming out, and Anthony Mackie's in it, and they dropped a trailer with him and Sweet Tooth.
Listen, I told all of you that the comic book movies are going to die, and we're going to be in the age of video game movies. Sorry, I may have zoned out for a second. You didn't mention anything about the potential Zelda movie, did you?
No, but did you tell me this, or somebody might have told me? I didn't know if it was real. There are
rumors that there's the possibility that there will be a live action Zelda movie, or a
action.
Sorry, a Zelda movie. It may not be live action.
Would it be like Mario, maybe like the Illumination, whatever it's called?
Probably, yeah.
Link doesn't talk.
He says,
I just started that game. I played for like 5 minutes. I'm very excited. Anyway, that's the news. There you go.
There you go.
Give us a Brave minute, Zach.
All right. Well, the Braves had one hell of a week. We went like 6-1 this past week, including today's loss. I think we're 6-2 in the month of June. I might be wrong about that, but we have increased our lead over the Mets to like 8.5 games, somewhere in there. Meanwhile, the Marlins are surprising a lot of people, and they're playing pretty well.
Did the Marlins win today?
I don't know. It may
I'll
not
check.
last. You can check on that. The
am.
Marlins' success may not last because they have a negative run differential, and usually when you have a negative run differential, it catches up to you. Like they're like 16-1 in one score games.
Something stupid. The Phillies won, and the Marlins did win, so they gained a game. So the Marlins are now 3.5 games back.
Yeah.
They're playing good.
We went to one of the, if not the most electric game that I've been to in person,
Yes.
which was Thursday night versus the Mets. At one point, we scored 3 runs in the bottom of the first. Then the Mets tacked on like 5 runs in an inning, and we were down 5-3. At one point, we were down like 10-6, or was it 9-5?
It was
one of those
10-5 or 10-6, I think. Yeah.
And we came back, and Ozzy Albies hit a 3-run homer to walk it off in the bottom of the 10th, and it was amazing. Like it was awesome. Shout out to Chase and Brooks who were there with us.
Yep.
It was just electric.
That was, yes. Sorry, this is your minute, but I just want to confirm that was an incredible game. Incredible game.
Yeah. Was that the best game that you've been to in person?
I think so. I did, much to your disdain, get to witness a World Series Grand Slam.
That we lost that game.
That was probably the coolest moment, but
Mhm.
that game quickly got out of hand and they lost badly. So I think overall as a game, that was one of the best games I've ever been to. And it
because
was
the Mets
hate
hit
the
a grand
Mets.
slam, and
Yes.
it sort of sucked the air out of the room.
Yeah.
But a lot of people stayed. Braves fans are
They
not
just knew. They just
Yeah.
knew.
well because it's happened so many times. I'll say that the second best game that I've been to was another come from behind walk off win, and it was Brian McCann hit a home run to walk us off back in back
in the day.
2019 or 20. I think it was 2019 because I think I had just started my job at the first law firm that I worked at. Anyways, that was amazing. This was levels above that because it's the Mets, because of how far behind we were, and just there's so many levels to it, you know.
Oh, yeah.
It was a good
Yes.
time. Anyways, that's my brave minute.
That's very brave of you.
Thanks. It's the bravest thing I've done all week.
All right, whiskey shots. I'm drinking water because I'm sick, but so you can do whatever you want. I'm just letting you know. But this is in honor of whiskey. What is that? Oh, nice. Classic. Okay. To whiskey.
This is Fireball from when Trey was in town.
Fun. You ready?
I
To
am
whiskey.
ready.
To whiskey.
To whiskey and to our 30s.
Oh, yeah. We're both old.
Can I tell you something? We don't even have to
Yep.
put this in here. You can edit it out if the episode's getting too long. Today, I went to the store and bought a rotisserie chicken. And I had a rotisserie chicken with roasted potatoes and black-eyed peas and green beans. And I had to eat it kind of early because I had to take my medicine. And I don't know what's happened, but I think I'm in my 70s. I just skipped a few decades.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. I love that. That's amazing. Well, Grandpa, tell them where they can find us.
I don't know. You know I don't know.
Okay, you can find us at BIIG Podcast on Twitter, at BIIGpodcast@gmail.com. You want to say hello? You can follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at But Is a Good Podcast. Follow me if you want to at Hunter Callahan Music everywhere. Want to follow Zach? He's never online. At Zach with an H to the number the THA future.31.
I have deleted the app from my phone.
Okay, well,
So I do not.
follow him because whenever he gets it back in 3 or 4 years from now, he'll have
Yeah,
like a ton of
yeah.
new followers and just random messages. It'd be hilarious. And then we're doing The Flash at long last next week. We'll see if it lives up to the hype or if it's disappointing like the rest of the DC movies.
Got to break the rule. See if it's so good that we'll forget about Ezra's crimes, as has been said.
Ooh, that's a... All right. Well, we'll see if that's true. All right. I'm going to go to bed because I've been awake for like the past 45 of the past 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Peace out.
Peace.
Bye.
But is it good podcast? Yeah.